communication. Communication is how everything works. It's how your brain has a conversation with your stomach, and how you know how to walk left when you need to avoid something that is in front of you. And right will not suffice. It is all communication. Communication on the finest of levels and on the deepest of levels is a lot different than it is in what you might understand is simple reality. The reality that is in front of you, that you see. You communicate signals of this and that to create this and that. You have a very powerful decider called your brain. Now, this is a very faux pas subject because a lot of people will name it a specific professional title. The first thing I want you to know is I have not studied under any specific guise of educational establishment. So they have not tested and they have not tried on people and studied mass people. I am here specifically sharing my experience that I have had and sharing the experience that I have seen with many other souls and the struggle that each person has with communication with inside of oneself. The communication pathways that we see from the outside world to the brain to our functioning and back out as a verbal thought pattern. We've gotten to be pretty good at it once you get into a logical position, work position. It seems like the easiest part. And I believe it's because it was required for the most amount of survival. We had to learn how to communicate with our environment around us. However, our requirement to communicate with the deeper aspects of ourselves, which is like communicating with animals, communicating with the grass, communicating with the weather. These are things that have been seen as faux pas. They've been seen as the thing that only those types of people do. It's only in the magical realms that people can read a deck of cards and help you understand yourself. These are things that have consistently been something that people do not respect or value because of our mental framework on how we believe that all of these things are quote-unquote magic. They are quote-unquote folk tales. There's only special people that can do these things. However, this is a fact in only an aspect. There's just a few that have developed the skills and tools to do so. All human beings have to communicate with themselves. And just most human beings have put it on autopilot. When you have it on autopilot, it becomes something that just runs by a specific set of programs, a specific set of values. So this will be your environment, your culture. You will just download specific sets of ways of doing things on these deeper levels without actually having to go there. And it will order your life much more correctly. You will do certain rituals in your life like reading of certain scriptures specifically, or possibly reciting scripture. Or if you're in my world, it is about paying attention to certain things, your synchronicities, the ways that your deeper parts can communicate with yourself, as deeper aspects of you can communicate based upon language. It's just a different language. It's through numbers, possibly. It's through cards, possibly. It's through how things show up in your life. If you can find everything all the time and it's incredibly organized, or is it the person that you tend to be that just, there's things that are always somewhere? What kind of person are you? I tend to have everything organized and know where everything is. And the moments that you see certain things that are not in your normal, these are another language in itself. There's a language with the energy. There's a language with how your heart feels and is sensitive towards the world around you. It will tell you if there's presence of other things, other beings. You will also get a language within the deeper centers of your psyche. And this is the one I find is most damaging to other people. And it is something that has made me question myself a few times in life, based upon the structures that we were implemented in, which I was a religious person that believed in a specific Bible. And these are things that I detest and have walked away from in all of their aspects because of the way that they cover over the deeper powers of who we are and regulate and control and oppress all aspects of the beautiful feminine nature. When you get to the place in your life that you want to be yourself, you require the feminine nature to have presence, to decide your own everything, and to know that you are powerful and strong in who you are. Those are things that are removed from you when you belong to these religious systems. It is so that you upkeep all of the things and that you give the greatest things that you have to something else, doing it and providing it for you, which is not how I work whatsoever. My desire and design is, yes, they've created a framework, but you would have had to choose to download it. You value the framework that I have and be honorable of it because it is my profession. It is my expertise. But it was your expertise as a human to decide out of all of the things that you chose that you're responsible for each and everything that you do. Getting deeper into the psyche is actually just like smelling the air and knowing that there is water in it. That when you smell fresh cut grass, that it's actually someone has just mowed the lawn. When you get to the place in your existence where you can hear the conversations that you have with yourself, it can be very difficult because you have had to exist as many parts to get to where you are. You are all the conversations. You are these parts of yourself, and it seems very daunting that you would be the one that created some of these things. How could I actually think like that? How could I actually be like this? A lot of it has to do with your environment. It's like you download certain people's consciousness to continuously remind you of this, that, and the other thing. If they were a wonderful person, deep down and on the surface, those conversations won't seem to be difficult. But if they struggled with their own internal world and just forego that and became a part of status, or they became a very logical and they ignored all of the beautiful aspects within inside of oneself, then they will not know all the things that they created down there. And when you have conversation with these types of people in the deeper places, you will be having conversations with possible bullies. You will be having conversations with ones that cause great trauma, things you will have avoided your whole life. When you are in conversation with these types of people, they will be even very elusive because these are the ways they've had to learn how to deal with life. You will think you're having a conversation with a child, and yet they will not be that. They will be something that looks more like a horror film. When you realize all of the things, when you realize when you attract their energy, they look kind and nice until they get close enough and they then act like a mosquito. These are how a lot of souls are. And it is something that is not exactly easy to manage. This is just how life is. This is actually how we all exist as, and most people have no understanding and knowing. It is actually why the things you consume in your daily are much more effective to your mental health than you know. Having your self in front of millions of people affects you on way more ways than you could ever know. Way more ways than you could ever know. There are so many conversations that people are attempting to have with you in many different ways. The more power that you have, the more that want to converse, to flock towards you, and you must learn how to manage it. Depending on who you are will depend on the types of conversations that you've had. The day that you wake up to these things is not an easy day, but it is work throughable. You can manage it. But the one of the most important things is you must learn that these are different places of you, different dimensions of you, different parts of you having conversations with different parts of other people. This is something they are not very aware of most of the time. Many are. The more that you have learned to develop these places, the more things in places that you can go. Because you have structures in these places. This is ENYELAH government, is you creating the structures for yourself so that you have your own authentic self. It takes a lot of work because you have to see what is important to you, what you like, what you don't like. Things manifest into the physical realm for you to say, yes, I like grape juice, and no, I do not like fermented grape juice. Or vice versa. What is your thing? How do you really walk through life? These conversations that you have with yourself are real. And it does not mean that you belong in a hospital, it means that you need to see them, acknowledge them, value them. They're giving you information about yourself. When it is about you, when it's about someone else, they're getting information about themselves. So it is similar to how you have conversation in the physical realm. Sometimes people make it all about themselves. And sometimes they want to make it all about you. And you have to know that even when they make it about you, they want to make it about themselves. So yes, you're having conversations with all different parts of yourself. Your stomach, your chakra system is a part of it. So is the different parts of your body. So is the different elements of what you have designed with inside of yourself. There is a very complex way to move through all of these things. It is not a blueprint that I can just logically share with you. You're working through ENYELAH government system. Then you will have gotten a lot of things in front of you to decide what you like, what you don't like, what kind of person is well attractive to you by what is coming in front of you. Learning to utilize the law of attraction as another way to analyze yourself and see what are the core values of this type of person. Is this the beginning of me seeing this, or is this, I've already gotten over this, and this was just a reminder that I am so repellent of these things, and it's like a sour taste in my mouth. And it's okay because that doesn't have an effect on me anymore. And you just have this sense of, well, if I see it again, I just won't like it again. And it's not I won't like it in a detesting anger manner. You really have to get good with being very stoic about existence. Because the more reactive you are, the more that these internal voices will actually have deep and profound effects on you. You require to create balance within inside of yourself. You require to have balance within inside of yourself. There's many parts of you communicating. Now it will show up different for every person. Some, it will feel like actual verbal conversations. Others, you'll just get very odd feelings and you'll know things. It depends on the level you're on and the clarity that you desire. But the more that you elevate yourself and take on all of your power, the more that these things become like actual conversations, balancing your internal world. And the world that you live in up here is very, very important. You are a physical being, and because of this physical being, the rest of those parts of you actually all have one place to call home. All of those systems, your digestive system, your respiratory system, your mental system, it all has a place to call home, and that's your human. And so when you get good with all of these parts of yourself and learn to have a good conversation with yourself, to really help yourself understand and know what is your direction, what is your value system, how do you want to continue to go through life, what has worked for you might not still work for you. Because to ignore these things, they only persist, but it is important that you do not pay more attention to them than you do your physical existence. The breath of life is valuable. The mental way that you express yourself in this realm is valuable. You are always required to show up as your best. And so when you're having these conversations that can seem a little bit tear-jerking, it's important to have someone in your life that you can have a real life conversation with and say, this has just been a whole different aspect of life. And it's very difficult for all of us as human beings to admit that we have conversations with ourselves on a continual basis, which seems a little bit odd when we say it out loud, because, everybody is always thinking something and reacting towards it. This is something that we just have more of. The more we go through in life, there's more little aspects to our personality, more huge aspects to our personality. And the more clarity that we get is literally the more clarity we get. Instead of just a weird feeling that we get, we can hear more of a dictated self. It's really important that you utilize this as a value to yourself, not the way the culture and tradition has frowned on it. Just like they have frowned on us being individuals, just like culture and tradition frowned on you having the wealth that you deserve, just like culture and tradition wants you to become a part of the amalgamated mess of everybody. You want to be yourself. So own and value all of the beautiful parts of you, and there is actually nothing wrong. This is just clarity. This is exactly who you are. And no, we do not need to go and say, oh, look at them. They have more power than us because they can hear more parts of themselves. When you can hear the trees speak, you tend to say, that's just an alternate reality. It is a different dimension of you, yes. So when you can hear a conversation with an animal, it seems like it's your best friend and you're having that conversation, right? This is why people fall so deeply in love with their fur babies, because they are having conversations with them. And it's something that's very valuable that you realize when it's dictated like that you're allowing that. And it's a beautiful thing. Allowing yourself to realize that the more clarity you have on yourself, the more that the dictation will come out of these different parts of yourself. It's valuable. It's showing you who you are. There is actually nothing wrong with you. I have seen many, 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 many people go through this process. Many. And trying to reason with themselves on how are they going to get through this? There's always a desire to ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. But then it affects you. And then once you get to the place where you learn how to categorize these dictations within inside of you, where does this part come from? Where does this part come from? Is it actually me? Recognizing that is important. And then owning the certain things that are you and changing it. You're that powerful. Your words change everything. Your intention of what you truly desire can come through, but you have to allow it. You have to allow yourself to be yourself. And that means you have to allow yourself to go in a direction that is more self-empowering, well-being, feeling good, balanced, the yin and the yang within you, understanding that skin cells die every day, so death on certain parts of your being is an everyday thing. But it is not something that you think about every day on this dimension, this human dimension. It is meant that you know that it exists on many parts of your body, and there's many cells that live and die every day. But this specific part of you, the heart, the mind, it must live and live every day. It must breathe and breathe every day. It must pump blood by its command every day. This part of you that thinks is the one that commands all of the things. And it must continue to breathe and find value in life, satisfaction in life. And when you do this, when you find the deepest parts of yourself valuable, when you find this experience valuable, when you invest in your physical reality, these are all valuable assets to you. The more you do this, the more that everything ticks correctly. All the gears within inside of you line up, and the system is in ease. It all has a placement, a calculation, a direction. Everything works in tandem, and you must be your own internal dictator of how all of these things work. And this is very important. Those with a soft heart, those who suggest things, will never win at the game of internal regulation. You must understand and know that you have to be very powerful with yourself. You must own all of yourself. And in order to do that, you must leave many things. You must leave religious systems, because your internal self will actually take you for a joke if you still read those things and believe in those scriptures and go by those frameworks when you're trying to tell it what to do. You have an internal system that also looks at power and says, I want to go where something is powerful enough to keep me in aliveness all the time. So what part of you is so powerfully alive, so excited for life in every moment? Every element of life is a determination to get through this powerful existence that you are. That's life. And the parts of you want to know more what that's like, to really soak in the excitement for every day and every opportunity, every adventure, every journey, every manifestation, every alignment. It's the juice of life that you are and are completely infatuated with. It is not an easy subject, communication. But it is the subject that when you master communication within, you manifest things well. And when you really get clear with yourself, then you learn how to manifest yourself in the most beautiful way. Your own experience is beautifully reflected to you. And understand and know you will always have certain conversations because it's what you design. So design yourself in a way that allows you to be in well-being all the time. And this is why having a conversation with me is so valuable. ENYELAH, Brown and Taylor conversations show you how to walk around the things you have believed your whole life and don't even know that are there. The things that all of society upholds, and it's just something you're even ashamed of. I can see it, and I offer you a very simple way to think differently, absorb life differently, that allows you to dismantle entire systems that have been stuck inside you because you mentally believe in one specific thing. Energetic systems that are still stuck with inside of you because you've believed one or two little idiosyncrasies about things in life. As you have a conversation with me, I just offer you an opportunity to walk down a different path, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll look at it like this, I'll see life like this, and it just takes all the pressure away. As you only require pressure in one aspect of your life. You don't require it in how you do what you've already mastered. Those are ways you need to learn how to release. There are so many places to release pressure so that you can truly be in the ease of well-being in all dimensions of yourself and all the conversations that you have with the different elements of your body, from things to how dry your skin is a conversation. It is a communication conversation. And the clearer you are with yourself in life, it becomes dictatable. It is not just an inkling or a feeling or a thought pattern. If you have a thought pattern, it is because there is a clearer version of it. This is who we're made to be. To hear a voice is just a dictated communication pattern. When somebody else speaks a different language, you don't pay attention to it. But then when you watch a movie and there's subtitles and you catch a few different words and you know it means hello or it means, bad style or something. And now you look at them and you're wearing something you're so excited about and you hear the word that they use for bad style and they're looking at you with a kind of a side eye and they're trying not to look in your direction. You now feel insecure even though they're speaking a different language. You never cared before. Now you learn to care. So now when you start to have things that are slightly dictated to you, you're going to start to care. There's always a way to find out how the deeper parts of you communicate. Yes, you can go to cards. Yes, you can go to a mirror. Yes, you can find it in things that trigger you. Yes, you can find it in synchronicities. Yes, you can find it everywhere in your reality, in your relationships, in everything. And these are all reflections, but to have a conversation with the depths of who you are really shows you the intention behind how you do things. And being really real with yourself is really important. The more power that you want for yourself, the more you look to the source, which is you. You are the human that inhabits all of the systems and all of the different dimensions of you. The ones that snap in and out of existence on a continual basis. They're powerful, they think differently. It is still an element of who you are, but you need to recognize it for what language it speaks and what actions it performs. It is the same with your sexual voice, your sexual energy, your sexual chakra. It wants what it wants, but it doesn't always serve you. It's the same with your stomach. How many times have you eaten more than you needed to because it tasted good? Your stomach wasn't happy, but other parts of your brain were happy. And sometimes your stomach wants food when it doesn't really need food. It's a actual reaction to feeling uneasy in your stomach. When you have that feeling of nervousness. You want to feel your stomach. Your stomach says, feed me, please. Doesn't need food at that point in time. You need to see why you're nervous. Communication with yourself is actually normal. We just haven't had an understanding, knowing, or framework on how to deal with it. It's about understanding how to exist. It's really about studying yourself and getting good with yourself. There is no book. We will not be able to create a book on this one. But I will be able to give you pointers on when this happens. You can possibly do this, but you could do that and this and the other thing as well. At the end of the day, it's communication. How much of a communication have you learned to be honest with yourself? That will be the key point out of all of this. Are you honest with yourself? Do you speak truth over all of the pain in the whole world, even life itself? If you say yes, then you're really honest with yourself. Now, are you okay with changing that honest red to an honest purple? Because it all exists. Only you get to decide what you want for your own existence. And this is when you really sit in with the fact that you are what most people understand as a God, but you are the power. You are the dictator of your own existence, because you can choose all things, every path, every element of your life. If you're truthful with yourself, honest to its actual purest truth, and you decide that you want to change it to a different truth, that different truth becomes you. This normally takes someone the habit cycle, the behavior cycle. Change your habits, change your behaviors, change your life. This is the long way to change your reality, because you basically give yourself permission to change it, because you're like, oh, well, I worked really hard on this, and so now I want it to be this, and it becomes that. But when you get to a place where you communicate with yourself on all these levels, you can change all things about yourself in an instantaneous form. Some people call it quantum jumping, quantum leaping. They call it shifting realities, shifting timelines. These are all things because you are the actual power that is over your own self. But you're the one that has to dictate it. Because if you give anybody else the power to say that they did that for you, that they're dictating your life, then you actually remove yourself from that power seat and you become submissive to whatever that is and whoever that is. So this is where you need to only be submissive to yourself, only powerful for yourself, because of yourself, by yourself. Because as soon as you start to want to take power over someone else, you will now download their entire being within inside of you so that you have control over them. And that is where things get very messy very quickly. It is better to only love nothing, because love is where you clear out spaces within inside of yourself and download that thing. It is where you actually listen to all the parts of yourself, pay deep, powerful attention to who you are and awareness, and then choose what reality you want. Well-being is the one that allows you to be in tandem and balance. Well-being is about being well physically, being well spiritually, being well mentally, and working at it in every thought, in every behavior, in every action. This attention and awareness far surpasses any type of relationship you can have that someone picks up for you and does things behind your back for you. It's better that you do all the things for yourself. Take responsibility for every dimension of yourself. Listen to all the aspects of yourself and then know what is the difference between you and where you gave yourself away so someone else could have a seat within inside of you. When you get deeper into this, you really want to have a conversation with myself, ENYELAH, because it gets really complicated on what part of you is this? Is this actually coming from you? There's many, many, many arrays of questions I can ask you so that you can get to the clarity that you need. One way to have a conversation with me, ENYELAH.com, through my membership. This is really important that you see the value in all of the intricacies. I ask you many questions so that you can get clarity, but I know which questions because I've been very honest and truthful with myself on what power really is. I've gotten full clarity, full logical understanding and knowings of things that this entire world calls unwell. No, this is full wellness. This is full actual sanity on a deeper level. It is not me pretending to be A-okay so that I can fit someone else's framework. I've had a lot of time to make sense of these deeper dictations of self. And I really have a more profound understanding and knowing of what they truly are from the experiences that I've had, to sharing them and to now really getting how to manage them and work with them. And on a continual basis, just as I have always had a continual basis of understanding through spirituality. I now have a more, this is life, this is reality. It does not need to go through a story. It is simply what we are and who we are. We do not need to stand far away from the actual existence that we are through stories and folk tales because we refuse to accept them about ourselves. It's time to get really good with the fact that we have all of this beautiful technology within inside of us. And we are the power that exists over all the elements of what we are within inside of ourselves. And when we chose to walk through different religious systems, it was our way of trying to stay far away from our own power and giving it to something else so that we felt better about our own existence, about the own conversations that we had. It must have been with something else. But it's you. All the characters have always been you. And it is important to know that you can actually give someone else a seat within inside of you, and then they are their own character. And how do you tell the difference? How do you walk through and understand where you is you? This is such a very valuable asset to understand and know where you're just feeling hurt and where you need to be more honest with yourself, and where you really need to make some adjustments in your physical life and your mental frameworks within inside of yourself. How do you walk away from internal addictive tendencies? How do you walk away from physical addictive tendencies? How do you become the most balanced, well-being person? It is truly an art form to do so, and to be really honest and truthful with yourself, so that you can move through all of the elements of being a human being that owns and is very powerful to instantaneously exist continuously It is a beautiful aspect to truly see all of your dimensions and how they are on different timelines. They really do operate so differently. And to be good with this and honoring of each part of you and what things it must perform for you to be this full being, to be the actual dictator of your own reality. You have to know all the parts of you and how they operate and their own internal calculations of what's possible for it. Being okay with the fact that this is how everyone is actually built. The more that we have these conversations about power and the reality of power, it's clarity. And that clarity can sometimes be very daunting because of our previous programming systems. It's no longer daunting to get clarity of all of what you are. It's just about learning how to continually get excited about dealing with all of the beautiful clarity and communication. However you receive it. Is it just a knowing? Is it just a feeling? Is it an inkling? Is it I kind of feel like that's a place for me? Or do you really know that it's just luring you in? Getting clear. The clearer you are, the more that you don't just go places because you feel and know. Now you really see the full clarity of why you go places and do things. It's so important to have this deep clarity and extreme power so that you do make the correct path turns and that you really have a full powerful understanding why you're doing business with who you're doing business with. Is it wealth? Or is it the cheese that you smelt that's surrounded by a metal spring? The higher the wealth you have, the deeper the clarity that is required. Be honest with yourself. This clarity is a gift. These deeper levels always have something to tell you about why you feel like doing business with this person, why you feel like you need to go to that country, why do you feel like you should get on a plane today? Why do you have these things and how do they assist you in your business? And how are they ways that other people are assisted by your decisions and maybe you have had a bit of a difficulty? The clarity comes in the dictation and the intention of all parts of yourself, in all conversations that you have, in all of the dimensions and in all the places. It always exists if you're going to accept it in its perfection of how it actually exists as. So you don't need a story anymore to try and navigate something. You don't need a secondary because you're really good with being powerful. And you're really good with the clarity of communication on all the levels of what you are. Because you know within inside of yourself that there is actually nothing wrong. It is just the way that they tried to program society to say that MONEY or RICH people are no good. It's the same way that they try and tell you that internal communication is no good. There's the mass communication is there for the people who can't handle power. They can't handle wealth. They can't handle anything. It is the lowest form of civilization on our earth. They can't handle pretty much anything. That's what mass media and mass understandings are for those people. You have to get good with walking outside of those frameworks. The higher your wealth, the more power you have, the deeper clarity that you need and require. It's actually valuable to you to accept that you have so much value. To hear all of these aspects of yourself, all these conversations that you're having, all these things you used to understand as just a knowing, just an inkling, just a feeling. They're no longer justs. You have deep clarity. It's a beautiful thing. Learning how to manage and dictate your own experience of this is really important. Finding someone who can really assist you is not an easy process. From this voice note, you will understand how power does need to reside with power. Thank you for allowing yourself to receive the information to change your understanding of communication and clarity.